communication strategist and founder of Liberty Travel Coach, and welcome to Free Thinkers Rising. Today I have the privilege of speaking with Dr. Ross Andersen here in beautiful Mexico at his home. I've known Ross for a couple years. I've come to him for medical help. He's a practitioner here in Mexico, and he is also an EMF specialist, an EMF specialist. So we are going to talk about EMFs today, EMF mitigation, and Ross, I'll get you to introduce yourself and give us your background.
My name is Ross Andersen. I graduated chiropractic in 1976, naturopathic license in 1978, and I actually went back to school in 2012 and did an osteopathic degree. I started my work in electromagnetic radiation in the mid-1980s when I was exposed to some of the German research that was occurring at the time. They were the very first to look at electromagnetic radiation as a probable health challenge. And so I stumbled upon some of their research and decided it looked like something I should probably have a look at as a possible part of what might be a causal factor in health challenges my clients were suffering from. Because at the time, when people came to me, they got better. Mm-hmm. There were a few that didn't or got better very slowly. And that tweaked my curiosity. And when I stumbled upon information out of Germany on electromagnetic radiation, and there was very little at the time actually that had been translated into English, but when I stumbled upon this information, I immediately decided I should get a meter and start looking at this as a possible causal factor in some of the challenges that my clients were having that weren't responding to homeopathy or botanical medicine or nutrition or other therapies that I was using that normally worked extremely well. So serendipitously, I had a chiropractic patient who drove about half an hour to get to see me. And one day she said to me, "Would you be able to have a look at my daughter? She's doing very poorly in school. She can't sleep. She's depressed and suffers from anxiety, and she's just not doing very well." And I said, "Sure, of course, bring her in." So the next week, she brought her daughter in, who at the time was 11 years of age. Her name was Jennifer. I remember her name. I remember her very well. And Jennifer did not respond to my treatment, which wasn't normal. Mm-hmm. So after about 3 or 4 weeks of her continuing to be feeling quite terrible, I said to the mother, and I don't know why, but it just came to me that there was something in the house that was affecting her. And I said I should come to the house. I had gotten a meter, which now is an antique, and strangely enough was stolen by an unscrupulous electrician a number of years ago. But I had a meter that measured electric fields, magnetic fields, and radio frequency fields. And so I said to the mother, "Can I come to the house and check and see if there's something there that is affecting Jennifer?" She said, "Absolutely." So the next day I drove the half hour to the house where Jennifer lived, and it was an really old farmhouse. We're talking built in like 1870. It had been upgraded with electricity in the 1920s. That's how old the house was. That's how old the electrical power was.
Wow.
Way, way back to the 1920s. So the first thing I said was, "Where does Jennifer sleep?" And we went up to Jennifer's bedroom, and I put the meter on the pillow where Jennifer put her head at night to sleep. And I had it set to the magnetic field setting on the meter. And the meter went off the scale, higher than the meter would actually measure, which was obviously not a good thing. Magnetic fields are very toxic. And so I said to Jennifer, so are you sleeping okay? And she said, no, I can hardly sleep at all. I get an hour and then I wake up, I get another hour and then I wake up and I'm up for an hour. And so by the time morning comes, Jennifer's had 2 or 3 hours of sleep and a lot of laying there wondering why she can't sleep. And so I said to the mother, because of the reading on the meter, I said, can Jennifer sleep somewhere else in the house? Could we actually perhaps move her bedroom somewhere else in the house that's not here? And the mother said, yes, we have another bedroom and it's at the other end of the house and we can move Jennifer down there. And Jennifer then piped up and she said, you know, when it rains out, I can hear electricity crackling. As it turned out, where the electrical power came into the house from the power line was this far from Jennifer's head. It was on the other side of the outside wall where Jennifer's bed was. Wow. And Jennifer could hear the electrical crackling with the water that affected the electrical power as it came into the house. So it was obvious to me we had a major problem with Jennifer sleeping in that bed in that bedroom. And so immediately her parents moved her bed and all of her furniture to the bedroom on the other side of the house, far away from where the electrical power came in to the house. Then we went to the dining room where Jennifer did her homework. She sat at the dining room table and the electrical power went down a column, a pipe, whatever you want to call it, to the basement, to the fuse box. Not the circuit breaker panel, to the fuse box. And I have actually, in my rather long career as an electromagnetic radiation inspector and mitigator, I've only seen 3 houses that still had a fuse box instead of a circuit breaker panel. And so that column went down the outside wall and strangely enough was about 3.5, 4 feet from where Jennifer sat doing her homework in the dining room. And so we measured the magnetic field on the chair where she sat in the dining room to do her homework every evening. And the magnetic field was not as strong as where she slept, but it was still there and still strong enough to affect her. So Jennifer was being affected by the electrical energy magnetic field all night long and all evening long when she sat to do her homework. And I said to her mother, can she do her homework somewhere else in the house? And her mother said, absolutely. We have another room and it has a desk. We can clear off the desk and Jennifer can be there. And it's on the other side of the house from this electrical column which came down the side of the house. So the strange thing about this story is this. Jennifer got better. 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
No more insomnia. No more depression, no more anxiety. No more feeling confused all the time. Her schoolwork improved. Her teacher remarked to her mother that she couldn't believe how well Jennifer was doing in school. The important thing about this is I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to treat her. There were no more remedies, no more vitamins, no more homeopathics, nothing. We just got her away from that extremely toxic magnetic field being produced by the electrical wiring coming into the house, affecting her a good part of the day. So, of course, this tweaked my curiosity about how many other clients might have something going on in their lives and in their home environment or their work environment that might be affecting them adversely, causing them to have health challenges. So, within a very short period of time, probably a couple of months, I started evaluating people's homes with my archaic meter, but it did work. You can still actually buy the same meter. It's been upgraded significantly since back then, but the same company makes the same meter, and it still measures the same 3 parameters of electromagnetic radiation. And I've had a lot of clients actually that own that meter. They have purchased it online and they use it themselves to evaluate their homes, their families' homes, and make positive changes in the electromagnetic environment. So that was my very first client that had an EMR issue, which resolved very quickly. Now, I don't know where Jennifer ended up, but I was told a number of years later by somebody who lived near her and knew her that she became a professional photographer. So that was my very first client. So after that, I instituted electromagnetic radiation in a lot of my clients' workups, and I found that a lot of people had issues, major electromagnetic radiation issues. And almost every single time when we cleaned up their electromagnetic environment, their issues went away without me doing anything else. So it morphed into, in 2014, after I had essentially retired from active naturopathic practice, I started up an inspection service in British Columbia, where I had moved to by that time, and I inspected over 1,000 homes between 2014 and 2021 when I left Canada and came to Mexico. I also inspected automobiles, recreational vehicles, boats, office buildings in both the Okanagan Valley and in Vancouver and in Toronto. I worked with a cohort who is still a very good friend who does EMF inspections in the lower mainland of British Columbia. He's probably, in my opinion, the best in Canada.
Okay.
And his name is Farron Lander.
Okay.
And he operates Healthy Homes Environmental. He has a website and he does fabulous work. We worked together on a couple of projects in the lower mainland. We inspected a couple of office buildings in downtown Toronto, which were horrifically polluted with electromagnetic radiation. And not one person working in those buildings felt well. They were all suffering all kinds of different maladies because of the electromagnetic radiation. And to give you a point of reference, Toronto in Ontario has over 10,000 cell towers that radiate massive amounts of radio frequency radiation. It's a huge issue. It is the invisible toxin that we are all exposed to. Now, this particular house that we are sitting in right now does not have Wi-Fi. It's available, but it's turned off on the router. Why? It's a toxic radiation that infiltrates every corner of your home. It can be eradicated, and I've eradicated it in well over 1,000 homes and businesses in Canada. It's a very inexpensive technology. It's been around for many, many years, and Wi-Fi can be eradicated, as can cordless phones. The most dangerous thing in somebody's home is their cordless phone. It is their own private cell tower. It's the same technology. And yeah, you have your handset, you can walk around, it's very convenient. Most people don't know that you can walk down the block about 7 or 8 houses and still use it. Because the signal coming from the base unit with the antenna on it is extremely powerful and runs 24/7, 365. That's the biggest problem. It doesn't shut off unless you shut it off.
Yeah.
The problem also, and there are two major important words, actually three, we'll go through the first two. The important words in electromagnetic radiation knowledge are proximity. Proximity is the most important word. Because the closer you are to the source of the radiation. Now, if you look very carefully in that direction, although there's a palm tree in the way, you can see the cell tower. It's about 1.5 miles away, but you can actually see the cell tower that will communicate with this house. A lot of people are very close to a cell tower, and that includes here. But in Toronto, you're close to a cell tower almost everywhere. That includes Vancouver, the Lower Mainland, Montreal, all the major cities, all have thousands of cell towers. And the purpose is simple. Everybody wants to be connected with their smartphone. They don't want to have to worry about getting a signal. That's why people put in one of the most dangerous things in their homes that they could possibly install, and that is a Wi-Fi booster.
Oh, yes.
And a lot of people put these in because one corner of the house has a weak signal on their Wi-Fi. But they don't want a weak signal. They want it nice and strong. So they put in a booster, and the booster sits in somebody's bedroom and pollutes that whole section of the house with a much stronger signal than they would have if they did not have the booster. So most people don't think about the consequences of technology because they don't know.
No.
And the biggest problem is you can't see it, smell it, or taste it.
Yeah. Yeah.
However, everybody can feel it. The reason I know that, I'll tell you about a client of mine. This was probably about a year into my business in the Okanagan Valley in British Columbia of doing a lot of inspections. And it was a woman who's still a very good friend of mine, and she called me in to do the inspection. And so I ended up at her house. It wasn't that far from where I lived at the time, probably a half-hour drive. And I went in the house, and immediately I could feel that the power of this radiation was very strong in this house. So I got out my radio frequency meter and I turned it on, and it was off the scale. And so I said to her, "Where are your Wi-Fi devices and all of those things?" And she said, "Well, they're right behind the television there." So we moved the television, and there was a little cubby about so big, probably 2 by 2 by 2, and in this cubby were all of these wireless devices. Her husband had been an IT guy in Fort McMurray, and he was a techie, and he loved gadgets, wireless gadgets especially. And so I aimed my meter at all of these devices, and it was way off the scale. So I said, "Do I have your permission to turn these off?" She said, "Absolutely." So one by one, I turned off all of these wireless devices. Strangely enough, this little cubby was on the other side of the wall from the head of her bed. She couldn't sleep, hardly at all, felt horrible in the morning. She was depressed, full of anxiety, fatigue, life wasn't great. So we turned off all of the wireless devices one by one, and the meter went down to almost zero.
Wow.
Well, this lovely woman broke down crying. She came over and she wrapped her arms around me and hugged me, and she said, "You mean this is why I've been sick for all these years?" And I said, "Most likely that's the case." Yeah. I said, "You can feel the difference." And she said, "Can I ever?" She said, "I haven't felt this good in years. Every house we've lived in, we've had all these gadgets." Now, her husband, at the time, was a double lung transplant recipient because he had unfortunately acquired lung cancer, even though he didn't smoke. Being an IT guy, he was exposed at home and at work. Mm-hmm. Did it cause his cancer? I can't say that. But what I can say definitively is electromagnetic radiation causes cancer. If it doesn't cause it, it makes it worse and it makes it grow faster. That is unequivocally and absolutely proven by scientific research at this point in time. And if anyone wants to look it up, they will find thousands of references in peer-reviewed, absolute scientific journals substantiating that electromagnetic radiation either causes cancer or makes it worse. So I have had hundreds of clients hug me during my career in Canada. I'm still doing electromagnetic radiation consultations here in Mexico. I've done about 6 or 7 homes here with very happy people that they are now electromagnetically safe. It doesn't matter where you go. We have cell towers. Mm-hmm. People love Wi-Fi because it's convenient. Mm-hmm. They love their cordless phone because it's convenient. The second important word in the field of electromagnetic radiation knowledge is cumulative. What does that mean? It means the radiation damage to your DNA, and that's what happens. That's why it causes cancer. That radiation damage is cumulative. The longer you are exposed, the more the damage. People think if they turn their Wi-Fi off at night, that's all they need to do. It's a start. It helps because it's off while you're sleeping, but it's on during the day. While you're at home, you're still getting damaged, and you're getting damaged by the cell tower next door. You're getting damaged by everybody's smartphone. And we should talk about the smartphone.
Oh, yes.
It's a very dangerous thing that you have in your pocket. It's way more than a phone. People know that because they've got 180 apps on it that do all kinds of things. Mm-hmm. From a compass to a calendar to, I mean, it's insane what it does. It's not just a phone, it's a computer. Yeah. It has more computing capability than any computer I've ever had in my life. And you hold it in your hand and it sits in your pocket. Now, unfortunately, most women carry them in their back pockets.
Or tucked in their bra.
Or they tuck it in their brassiere.
Yeah.
And they wonder why they got breast cancer where the phone has been stored. In the back pocket, and a lot of women have 2 of them, one for business and one personal. And they're that far from the ovaries. Why do we have an epidemic of ovarian cancer right now? The smartphone is that far from the ovaries when it's in the back pocket. The guys put them in the front pocket. Mm-hmm. A lot. Some in the back, but a lot of them in the front pocket. They're that far from the testicles. Why do we have an epidemic of testicular cancer in men in their 20s and 30s and 40s right now? Because that smartphone has to be smart. And that's the important word. it wants to update your information every 3 or 6 minutes, depending on the phone. During that update, there's a massive blast of radiation as the phone is communicating with the cell tower. I have the equipment to measure this. I've measured it on many smartphones. I've data logged it. It's a massive amount of radiation. When the phone is on standby, people think when it's on standby and they're not using it, it's perfectly safe. That is not true. It's still damaging because it updates its information every 3 to 6 minutes. The only way to have a safe smartphone is to have it off or not have one at all. And most people, I mean, if you ask an audience, and I've done this, I've asked an audience of 100 people, because I've done hundreds of presentations on electromagnetic radiation. I've asked audiences of 100 people, if you don't own a smartphone, would you put up your hand? You know how many hands go up?
One?
Maybe one. Maybe one out of 100 people that would not have one. It is part of modern society. Yes. And you are expected to have one. Mm-hmm. And if you're doing anything on your computer and you're signing up for something or you're buying something and you have to create an account, they're going to send you a code on your smartphone. If you don't have a smartphone, you might be able to get that code by email, but good luck. They'll send it to you on your smartphone, and if you don't have a smartphone, it's hard to function in this day and age. Mm-hmm. And they've done that intentionally to make you get one because they want everybody to have one. Mm-hmm. And I think there are a number of diabolical reasons for that. It's not just a financial thing. They want you to be exposed. They want that epidemic mm-hmm. of cancer because cancer treatment is one of the biggest businesses on this planet. Mm-hmm. It's like the third largest industry on planet Earth. And right now, over half of the Western population is getting cancer before they leave the planet. It's a ridiculous statistic.
Well, look at all the cancer centers, the huge hospitals and everything they're building now. We never used to have those. Never.
No, and the cancer centers are huge. How do I know? I've been to 3 of them in Canada. And every major population center has a cancer center. It's sort of a hospital, but it's different. There are doctors there and therapists and all of that. But they're usually right beside the hospital.
Yes.
They're always right beside the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Because so many people get cancer, they've got to have access to the hospital. Immediate access. And it's just unfortunately the way things are these days. So I want to talk about a couple of things that are rather obscure. And because this is going to go out to a lot of people eventually, I hope it gets reposted and reposted many, many times. There are a couple of very obscure sources of electromagnetic radiation that almost nobody knows about. The reason they don't know about them is because nobody told them and nobody discovered them. Now, I'll tell you about one that I think is one of the biggest issues going today. And that is hearing aids. Now, I wear hearing aids. I don't have them in right now. I wear them a lot of the time. I damaged my hearing when I was younger. That's another whole story. But in 2010, my father passed away. Now, he had hearing aids because he damaged his hearing when he was quite young. And he was a farmer in Alberta. And he was exposed to massive amounts of very loud noise, and he had got his hearing damaged. They didn't know about earplugs or earmuffs back then. So when he passed away in 2010, I was the only one of his 3 offspring that wore hearing aids, so I got his hearing aids. And I took them home, back to British Columbia where I lived, and I put them in a dresser drawer, and they sat there for a year. And about a year later, I was in that drawer one day, and I saw them sitting there, and I thought, gee, I should get those tuned up for my hearing and wear them. They didn't cost me anything, and they were expensive. I think they were $3,500
Oh, wow.
to buy them, which was a lesser quality hearing aid at the time.
Okay.
So I took them into my hearing aid specialist, and I said, can you tune these up for my hearing? He said, sure, no problem. And he had all my particulars in his computer, so I gave them to him, and he said, come on back tomorrow, I'll have them ready. So the next day I went and put them on. I put them on, and they were working, seemed to be working quite well. I could hear very nicely. And I went out to the front, paid my bill, and left. Well, 10 minutes down the road, I have a headache. I don't get headaches. So I thought, this is rather odd. What's different? Why would I have a headache? And the thought occurred to me that it might be the hearing aids. It's the only thing that's changed. Mm-hmm. So I took them off, and about an hour later, the headache went away. The next morning, I put them on again. 10 minutes later, I have a headache. So I thought, this isn't good. I took them back to my hearing aid guy, and I went in and I said to him, so what's the difference between these new ones and my old ones? And he said, well, the new ones have E2E. And I said, what's E2E? And he said, they're ear-to-ear communication. And I said, really? And he said, well, didn't you notice that when you turned the volume up on one, the volume went up on the other one? And I said, yes, I did notice that. And he said, well, they talk to each other. And I looked at him and I said, how? And he said, oh, they have a radio signal. Great. And I said, so they have a radio signal that goes between them? And he said, yes. And I looked at him and I said, you mean through my head? And he said, yes.
Why be concerned?
And I said, can you turn it off? And he said, yes. And I handed him the hearing aids after I took them off, because now I'm scared of these things. I said, would you turn it off, please? He hooked them up to his computer, and he turned it off, and he gave them back to me. I put them in my ears, and they still worked, but the volume didn't change on the other one when I turned the volume. I had to turn up the volume individually. Oh, what a pain, right?
When bad communication is good.
Right. And guess what? No headache. No headache. So then I started to wonder about my father. About a day later, after all of this percolated in my mind, because my father, during his last 3 months of life, because he lived to 93 and a half, but during the last 3 months of his life, it was pretty bad.
Yeah.
He ended up in a wheelchair. He could hardly feed himself. He was in horrible, horrible condition, and he was going downhill. He was going to die anyway. He was 93 and a half. But the last 3 months of his life were really horrific, and he went downhill very, very quickly after he got those hearing aids. Were they part of the reason he went downhill very quickly? I can't say that. I can say it's a bit of a coincidence.
Yes.
That he got hearing aids that had this E2E, which my sister and brother did not know about. Mm-hmm. They were the ones looking after him and visiting him regularly. I wasn't, because I didn't live, I lived across the other side of the country at the time. So, needless to say, After that, if I got new hearing aids, I always made sure there was no E2E in them. And the hearing aids I have now, when I got them, I took them into a hearing aid specialist here, and I had her turn it off. I can wear them with no problem. They work extremely well. I have to adjust them individually. I don't care. I don't get that radio frequency through my head. Now, here's my question. This is the big elephant in the room on this one. There are now billions of sets of hearing aids that people wear every single day that have E2E. Now, there's a little more to the story, and we have time. Do we?
Yes.
Okay. 3 weeks
It's too
after
interesting to say
the
no.
discovery about those hearing aids I got after my father's death, I'm doing a public presentation to 65 people in Kelowna, British Columbia. I'm telling this story because I've added this to my presentation. A woman at the back puts her hand up and she's waving her hand. She's got to talk. Normally I take questions at the end. Mm-hmm. I tell people, write your questions down, I'll answer questions at the end of my presentation. She's got to talk. So I said, it's obvious you have a question that's extremely important. She stands up, she says, I don't have a question. I have a comment. She said, I'm a hearing aid specialist and I'm currently retiring. She said 3 weeks ago, an elderly couple came in and they sat down in my office, and the woman looked at me and she said, I want my husband back. And this woman said to the client, she said, what do you mean? He's sitting right there. She said, no, that's not my husband. That's not the man I married. Since he got those new hearing aids, he yells at me, he swears at me, and he is not the man I married and have been married to for 55 years. I want my husband back. And Candace, who is the hearing aid specialist, she actually became a good friend after that, because she had me come and do an inspection at her home. She said, I immediately knew what it was. She said, give me the hearing aids. She hooked them up, turned off the E2E, gave them back to the couple. And the next day, Candace got a phone call from the woman. And she said, thank you. I have my husband back. Wow. So here's the question I have. How many millions, maybe billions, of people are being adversely affected by hearing aids zapping their brain all day long when they are wearing them? And what kind of an effect is that having on society?
What about AirPods?
Okay, thank you for asking that. That's a really good question. I have measured Bluetooth earpieces. I've measured the wireless earbuds that you see a lot of people wearing, the white ones.
Yes.
They don't have to be white. They can be black. They can be all kinds of different colors. I actually have a pair downstairs that I purchased just for the purpose of doing a video about what they put out. They put out 14,000 microwatts of radiation directly into the brain. Now, let me give you a point of reference. A microwatt is the unit of measurement for electromagnetic radio frequency radiation. All building biologists and all electromagnetic radiation consultants use microwatts as the measurement for the radiation. I have meters that measure that level of radiation down to 0. Anything above 5 microwatts is damaging your DNA.
Wow.
So if you are getting 14,000 microwatts from 2 earbuds that are communicating with your smartphone, your brain is being damaged all the time. Now here's the problem with them. If your phone is off, they're still transmitting. And they're looking for a device to communicate with. Now, I'll tell you about my cousin's husband. My cousin lives in Calgary, Alberta. Her husband, Peter, was a farmer. They owned a farm about an hour outside of Calgary. It was actually the farm that my father grew up on. Now, Peter was farming 3,000 acres. He had 8 or 9 farm hands that worked for him, and he had to buy supplies. He had to have machinery fixed. He needed to be in communication with a lot of people. He had 2 teenagers that he needed to communicate with on a regular basis. So the day those Bluetooth earpieces came out, he bought one. The next morning, he put it on his right ear and he paired it with his smartphone so that he didn't have to hold the phone up to the side of his head. He thought he was doing himself a favor. So he wore that thing after breakfast until he went to bed at night every single day for 7 years.
All day.
All day long.
Wow.
7 days a week. Farmers work 7 days a week. They can't take a day off. Crops don't stop growing. It took 7 years for him to get his brain tumor. Unfortunately, it was the kind of brain tumor that could not be fully removed. He had surgery. They got as much as they could of his brain tumor. They told him he should probably go home and get his affairs in order because the tumor would likely continue to grow and that he probably had no more than a year to live once it started to regrow. It was a astrocytoma. There are 3 or 4 different ones that are caused by radiation. So Peter went home and got his affairs in order, and he had a rather horrible year before he died. How do I know that? His wife is one of my favorite cousins. She told me about his year, and it was not fun. And it took him a year before it finally killed him. Was it the earpiece that caused the brain tumor? I can't say that. What I can say is that he wore it after breakfast until he went to bed for 7 years before he got the tumor. And guess where the tumor was? Right there. On the right side of his brain. Now I want to talk about one more thing because I love children. And children are much more susceptible to electromagnetic radiation than adults because their bones aren't fully formed yet. The radiation penetrates further into their brain if they are holding a smartphone, which unfortunately children do. And children have a lot of wireless gadgets. There's one, though, that can be avoided, and that is wireless baby monitors. It's the same technology as a cordless phone. It runs on the same exact frequencies as a cordless phone. Now, I understand parents want to know if their child wakes up, if their child's in distress, if the child needs the diaper changed, if it's hungry, whatever. So they have a monitor in the child's bedroom, and it's usually fairly close to the crib. I've seen it. It's usually within 2 or 3 feet of the crib. And then they have another unit, and it's usually on the bedside table in the parent's bedroom. Now, that's the same technology as a cordless phone. Problem is, it's transmitting 24/7 to the baby. Yes, if the baby cries, they can hear it. I get it. But that baby is being exposed to a large amount of electromagnetic radiation all the time it's in the crib. The baby can't sleep well. It's waking up and crying. Does this make sense? It's the baby monitor that's causing the baby to wake up and cry. I mean, talk about irony. That is one of the most ironic things I've heard. But I've had a lot of parents get a wired baby monitor. You can still buy them. Yeah, it's a pain. You have to string a wire from the baby's bedroom all the way to the parent's bedroom. But isn't that better than exposing your child to electromagnetic radiation all night long?
Well, now, and some of them even have like video
Absolutely.
that they're watching videos of
Of
their
course.
babies sleep, and they're wrapping their babies in.
As technology improves, we now have video baby monitors for sure.
It's like, why?
We have video everything.
Yeah.
You know, you can have a video monitoring system of your house where you can be in Australia in the outback and you can, on your smartphone, see what's going on in your house. I get why people do that, because people break into homes these days, especially if you're not there. That's why we have house sitters. But technology is killing people every single day. And it's making our society sick. One person at a time. There's only one way to not be exposed, and that is not use it. But everybody does use it. I mean, we're using two different technologies right now. They're not wireless. This is wired. It's recording us. That camera is recording us. It has wireless capability, but it's not being wireless at this moment. This also has wireless capability, but it's not being utilized. And that's the thing to do. The smartphone, you don't have to have a smartphone. You can get a flip phone that only does text and phone calls. But people want that computer. They want it in their pocket. They want all those apps to make life more convenient. But as I say, convenience kills. And it kills slowly because it's cumulative. And the closer you are to the source of the radiation, whether it's earbuds or your smartphone holding it up to the side of your head, and people still do that. Everybody knows it's damaging. They can feel it, but people still do it. Everywhere you see people every single day holding that phone, and they're driving, or they're driving a motorcycle, or they're riding a bicycle with one hand, and the phone is at the side of their head.
Or earbuds. Everybody's wearing earbuds.
Or they have the earbuds.
Yeah.
They think that's safer.
Yeah.
When in essence, it's not safer. It's actually more damaging to buy the earbuds. Wired earbuds are a whole different thing. They don't have radiation. They're not communicating with your phone with wireless radiation. So the bottom line is, we're all being exposed constantly. We have epidemics of diseases we never had before. This radiation is either causing a disease or making a disease worse, and a lot worse, not just a little, a lot, whether it's diabetes or cancer or Parkinson's or dementia. And there's significant evidence that all of this radiation is causing dementia and making Alzheimer's disease worse, and multiple sclerosis. All of these things are related to electromagnetic radiation that we're all being exposed to. So what I tell my clients is, do your own research. There are hundreds and hundreds, maybe thousands of videos on YouTube that are high quality information. You don't have to spend a lot of money I have clients that buy meters. They buy their own meters. They do their own inspection of their own home, or they call in a professional like me to do an inspection and tell them what they need to do to clean up their electromagnetic environment. And every single person has their health improved dramatically when they clean up their electromagnetic environment and either get rid of the devices, turn them off, use wired alternatives. I came up with a term, wirelessless, which means without wireless.
Yep.
Because everybody wants the convenience. Nobody wants wires running in their home. This home is actually conveniently wired with Ethernet, including in my private office, in the bedrooms, all wired with Ethernet from the router, which is down in the front of the residence. When we moved in here, it had Wi-Fi everywhere. There were Wi-Fi routers that were hooked up to Ethernet cables throughout this residence. We took them all out and wired the place with Ethernet. It's not that expensive. Yes, it's a pain, and yeah, we have wires running here and there, which don't look that great, but what I tell people is, wouldn't you rather than get cancer have a little inconvenience and have to, run some wires, step over some wires? It's better than getting cancer. Let me tell you one thing. Brain cancer is not very convenient. How do I know? I've had it 4 times. How did I get it? Stupidity. I used a cell phone way too much in the late 1990s. I had 2 teenage sons, 5,000 active patients that wanted to call me whenever they had an emergency. I used it way too much, and I was dumb enough at the time, even though I knew better, to hold it up at the side of my head. Where were my tumors? Right in there. I learned the hard way. I no longer have it. Tumors have been removed. I've managed to survive quite nicely. And now I help other people not get tumors, hopefully, or get rid of the ones they do have. Because building biology, electromagnetic consultation work, I think is one of the absolutely best things a person can do. I've trained a few people in how to do it. They've bought meters. They are doing inspections and helping people improve their lives and not get sick. I know many of the world's top authorities in the field of electromagnetic radiation. I've been fortunate enough to meet and befriend a lot of these people. I've helped a number of them improve their information, and I will continue to do this work for many, many years, because I believe it is one of the absolute best things that one can do, is to do electromagnetic inspection and mitigation. And it's not that difficult.
No.
I've taught people in a week, 5 or 6 inspections. They've watched what I do, how I do it. They purchase their own meters. Yes, it's a bit of an investment. We're looking at $7,000 to $10,000 in buying top quality meters, but it's a one-time purchase. They don't die. They just keep going. The meters that I purchased back in 2013, 2014, I still have them. They all still work like the day I bought them. So I urge people, if they're listening to this and they want a profession that will help a lot of people, their family, their friends, anybody that they contact, it's a great thing to do. It's not that difficult. It can be learned fairly quickly, and it will be a service that they will be able to perform and actually earn a decent living.
And that's a building biologist.
The building biology is one discipline. The Building Biology Institute is quite fabulous. It was started in Germany many years ago. There is an American Building Biology Institute. I think it's out of Arizona. I know some of the people there. In fact, I will be on a Zoom call at the end of this month with many of their members, their top people. They want to hear from me because I have a lot of information that is proprietary and I came up with myself on inventing shielding methods for things like smart meters and other forms of meters that nobody else has thought of. And I'm going to be sharing all of that information with over 50 of the top professionals in the world, who will then disseminate that information to a lot of other people doing this work. And hopefully that will save many, many lives and improve countless thousands of others. And it's an honor to be invited to be on that Zoom call. So, and I will give you the link for that call if it's available.
Yes, please do.
After it happens. It's scheduled right now for the 27th of this month.
Okay, yeah, please do.
So that'll be a fun one.
Yeah. Did you want to speak briefly about something else that you have created, the paint?
In the work of shielding, I've got 100 stories I could tell. We could go on for hours and hours and hours.
I know we could. There's so many.
But I used a lot. I used a lot of what's called radio frequency shielding paint. The paint. There are a number of manufacturers, but there's only one at this point that is really, really perfect and works every time. And it's out of Germany. It's called Y Shield. The letter Y Shield. The magic ingredient is nanographite particles. Now, people get scared of the word nano, but these are graphite particles that are extremely small. The paint is black as midnight. It's as black as your tights, okay? It has a 99.97 effectiveness in blocking radio frequency radiation, which is incredibly high. I used a huge amount of it in my work, in shielding people's homes and residences. The only problem with this paint is it costs a lot of money. It comes out of Germany and it's very expensive. And one day I thought, gee, it's only got one magic ingredient, that's the nanographite particles. Maybe I can buy those and make my own paint. So I bought some nanographite particles out of China, very expensive, and I started mixing with various forms of paint bases. I did research for about 3 months, almost every single day, and I worked with a paint technician who lived fairly close, and he worked in a paint store. And they did the mixing for me because they have to have a shaker and all of that. It took me about 3 months, but I duplicated the paint. There was a problem though. The problem was the nanographite particles cost a lot of money. And after I did a cost factor on producing the paint in Canada, I realized I couldn't manufacture it for any cheaper than I could buy it from Germany.
Okay.
However, the cost of the nanographite particles has come way, way down since then. So I know now that it can be manufactured at significantly less than the product out of Germany.
So do you put it on the outside of the house, the inside of the house?
You can put it wherever you want.
Wherever you want.
I had one client who became a very good friend, actually, paint his whole house on the outside. He lived 800 feet from a cell tower. His house was horrifically polluted. His daughter couldn't sleep through the night. He and his wife didn't feel good in their bed. They were waking up during the night, and his wife had anxiety, depression to some degree, fatigue. Ultimately, unfortunately, she got breast cancer and passed away. Was it the radiation? Impossible to say. But after he painted his house and we put window film on his windows to block the radiation, the readings in his house came down to almost zero.
Wow.
His beautiful 2-year-old daughter immediately slept through the night. And he and his wife couldn't believe the quality of sleep and how much better they both felt. I got a phone call the next day after their house was finished. And actually, as their house was being painted, I was interviewed by Dan Dix. Dan Dix has Press for Truth, a very, very big YouTube channel out of Vancouver. He does a lot of fabulous work on YouTube.
Okay.
And he was interviewing me outside the house as it was being painted. In the background, you can actually see the painters working on the house. And we did an interview, not that different from this, about all of the different aspects of electromagnetic radiation and how to block them. So perhaps someday we will produce the paint here in Mexico and make it available to the world. I would like to do that.
Yes.
I would like to offer it at significantly less money than the product out of Germany. And I know there's a huge market for it. So that's a project that might come to fruition someday. We will need an angel investor who is willing to, put up a bit of money to get the product fully developed and under manufacturing. I already have the name for the product, and the market is already there.
Oh, definitely.
Finding the market won't be difficult.
No.
No.
So you said it's black. Can you paint over top it?
You paint over it with the original color that you want.
Okay.
Yes. And I used it in some very interesting situations with great success. Fabulous success at the way it made people feel and allowed them to sleep properly and regain their health. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yep. And that paint is it's still available out of Germany. You can buy it on Mercado Libre, you can buy it on Amazon, you can buy it from the 2 websites that supply electromagnetic shielding products, one in the US and one in Canada.
Wow.
And yes, it's expensive, but it's worth every penny invested. Yeah.
Oh, so much information. It's been incredible listening to your stories and hearing that. And I mean, even my own experience, because a lot of people think, oh, it's a tinfoil hat thing, or they may not believe it yet. There are people who I still think are really not sure about it. And I was kind of, I'm sure it's there, until it affected me.
Yeah.
And with me, it was high blood pressure.
Yep.
And I came to your office, and my blood pressure was high, and I was in your office. You checked me when I got there, and I think it was 150 over 90 or something.
Yeah.
And I was sitting in your office for an hour, and you checked me again, and my blood pressure was perfect. But your house was hardwired, no Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
So I borrowed a meter from our friend.
Oh, good.
And I went and checked our house, and you would be shocked at where the readings are going to go off the chart. And with us, the biggest one was a chandelier that was in our house. In the kitchen, a huge chandelier with these big, bright, colorful lights, a very Mexican-style chandelier. And I turned the light on, and my husband walked up the stairs, and it just went whoop. And I turned the light off, and it went back. So I never turned that chandelier on ever again. I always had it on when I was cooking, right?
Yeah.
And the doorbell, the video doorbell, was a high rating. Of course, the
Wireless.
TV, yeah.
Wireless doorbell.
Yeah. The microwave, not even when it's being used, there's stuff coming off. So now the microwave is always unplugged. I haven't used a microwave in decades. But even when it wasn't being used, it's shocking what gives off. Our laptops, of course, high.
Yep.
Cell phone, high. Yeah, it's amazing.
It is, and once again, you can't see it, smell it, or
No.
taste it, but everybody can feel it. When you get rid of the radiation, everybody says, "Oh my God, I can't believe how different my house feels." And that, we actually did an inspection on a house, probably a 5-minute drive from here. Maybe from here it's more like 15 minutes. And he had high electrical field readings, high radio frequency field readings, and he got what's called the power line system. He got rid of his Wi-Fi. He got dirty electricity filters that he ordered from the United States to clean up the dirty electricity. And he has been thrilled with the changes in his house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's incredible. I just thought of another one too. My neighbor knew that we were doing this, so she wanted me to come over to her place.
Yeah.
With the
With your meter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And something that she had bought for relaxation was a little fountain that she sat by her computer, and this little water fountain that had a high reading. The little water that she bought for relaxation.
No, that's on
What?
the magnetic
Yeah.
setting on the meter. Everything that is a motor,
Yeah.
all the electrical wiring, it all puts out different types of electromagnetic radiation.
Yeah.
But every type of and I cover this in my presentation. I cover all the different types of electromagnetic radiation. Radio frequency, magnetic, electric, light pollution. Light is electromagnetic radiation. And if you've got LED bulbs, they do a couple of different things. An LED bulb is actually a little computer. It has a computer chip in it because an LED runs on direct current. In the walls, we have alternating current. So you have to have a little transformer, and that's the word, transformer. What does a transformer do? It transforms electrical energy from one form into another. So each LED bulb has a little transformer in it to make direct current to run the bulb. Here's the problem. That transformer creates dirty electrical frequencies that go back onto the wiring of your house and are emitted in the electric fields of your house. And that's part of what you were picking up
Okay.
from the chandelier,
Yeah.
was that dirty electricity being emitted by the electrical fields of the electrical bulbs when you turn that
Yeah.
switch on. This is the tricky part about electromagnetic radiation. There are so many little pieces of it people don't know about.
No.
And they can't imagine it would be unsafe to have an electrical outlet that far from your head while you sleep at night, until you show them on a meter that their brain's being fried all night long. And that's why they wake up every hour and they have to get up, go have something to eat, go read a book, whatever, and then go back to bed and get to sleep again. As I said earlier, I have hundreds of stories
Oh, yes.
that I could tell.
I can
We
imagine.
could go on for a whole day. So, but maybe another time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Well, thank you for the information. And you've given so many suggestions. One question I have been asking everybody
yeah.
is, what is one step that someone could take today to, and your topic is different than everybody else's, but to mitigate?
Well, there are
Yeah.
3 ridiculously simple things people can do. And they're inexpensive. In fact, they don't cost anything hardly. The first thing is get rid of your cordless phone if you have one. If you have a smartphone, get a shielded case. They're expensive. They run about $100 US online, but they help to reduce the radiation of that upgrade every 3 to 6 minutes that your phone is doing.
Does airplane mode do anything?
Airplane mode on a smartphone turns off the radio frequency radiation. It shuts it off. Not completely. Most people don't know this. Wi-Fi and Bluetooth will still work on your smartphone if it's on airplane mode.
Yes.
Now, here's another interesting thing about airplane mode. I learned this many years ago when I first had a meter that would measure a lot of smartphones. I took that meter on a flight and I measured, and I estimated that only 20% of the people on that flight had their phone on airplane mode. The rest, it was still, and the radiation blast was massive. Now, then what did they do? They put in Wi-Fi on airplanes. And now you had everybody, not everybody, but anyone who's willing to pay for it, you had to pay to have Wi-Fi to use your smartphone on the plane. Now you had a lot of people running Wi-Fi on their phone, and you had the Wi-Fi coming out of the Wi-Fi transmitters. It made flying extremely dangerous because now you were in a tube that also reflected the radiation from the outside of the airplane back in, because it's made of aluminum, a lot of them. And so you were now traveling for 2, 3, 4, God knows how many hours. If you're flying to New Zealand, 13 and a half hours, and you're getting irradiated massively by all of the phones on the plane. Once again, people don't know because they can't see it, smell it, or taste it.
Yeah. And why do you feel like crap when you're done a flight?
Partly,
why do you get sick
yeah.
when you...
There are other
that's
reasons.
another whole conversation, right?
That's a whole other topic. That's a couple hours worth, that one. But yeah, you get off the plane and people feel a lot better, but you walk in the airport and now you're getting fried again.
Yes.
There's Wi-Fi in the airport and you've got 10,000 people with their smartphone. All of them wanting Wi-Fi in the airport, so they're not using their cell service.
Okay, I interrupted you. You said there were 3 things.
Get rid of the smartphone.
Yeah.
Get rid of the cordless phone. For God's sake, get rid of the wireless baby monitor. Okay? Turn off the electricity in your bedrooms, plural, not just your bedroom, but your children's, your teenagers' bedrooms. It's so ridiculously simple. Your house has a circuit breaker panel. All you have to do is put a reading lamp on the bedside table and turn it on. Go to the circuit breaker panel, turn off breakers. They might be labeled, maybe not. If they're labeled and it says master bedroom, turn that one off. Now you have eliminated the electrical field in your sleeping space. Hopefully, the reason I say hopefully is you have to know what's on the other side of the wall.
It's a little quirky Mexican story. So we did this because you had suggested that when I was having my issues.
Yeah.
And so we did that, turned on my light stand, turned on the one on my husband's side. We found the one for mine, but the one on my husband's side was in our neighbor's apartment, hit their breaker. So we couldn't turn the other one off. But that's Mexico.
Well, then you have a couple of options. You have to move the bed
Yeah.
somewhere else in the room. You have to work with the neighbors.
Yeah.
Or you have to shield your head. And that's another thing that people can do. There are shields that people can buy that will actually shield the head at night. So get rid of the Wi-Fi, turn off the electrical field in your bedroom, get rid of your cordless phone. If you live near a cell tower, now you got a problem. You got to use shielding paint, you got to use window film on the windows. Now it gets expensive.
Yeah.
Because you've got to bring in a painter, unless you want to do it yourself. You've got to bring in someone to put on window film. I tried doing it myself. It's impossible to learn. My window film guy in Canada, incredible. I asked him, how long did it take you to learn this? He said, 2 years. as an apprentice before I got good at it. I tried it. He was right. I tried 2 different houses, and after failing many times, I gave up. I was going to pull my hair out because it was so difficult to do window film on windows. And after that, I had a guy who was a professional. I bought the window film, and I said, Alan, here's the address. Please go do this house. And it would take him 6, 7, 8 hours to do a whole house. And he would do the house, and my painter, I had 2 painters actually that I used in Canada, and it's special paint. It's a little tricky, and they did it extremely well. People would always have them paint over it in a couple of days after it dried thoroughly, and they would paint the original color of the room over the paint because it's black as midnight. Yeah. But it was well worth it. People didn't mind. I had one couple that spent about $65,000 doing their whole house. Paint, window film, everything. The reason they did that is they lived 270 feet from a cell tower. Ultimately, even after they spent that much money, luckily they had lots of money, ultimately they sold that house and moved out into the country, way out in the country. In their new place in the country, the smart meter was 300 feet away from their house, and the nearest cell tower was 2 miles away, and they were absolutely safe where they lived. They still live there. I actually was invited to that house to do an inspection, and I did, and there was nothing really to do because they didn't we had to do electric fields and turn off the circuit breakers, and that was about it. So, yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge.
My pleasure.
It's been,
Hopefully
I've been hanging on every word.
Hopefully this will be viewed by hundreds or thousands of people, and people will take that knowledge and utilize it, make their lives better, live their lives longer and healthier, and help their family and friends to do the same.
You have such a heart for helping people. I can see that.
That's what I was put on the planet to do.
You have such a heart for it. So
Yeah.
thank you for all you do.
I was put here to do that, and I plan to do it until I no longer am here. And maybe I'll reincarnate into another being that can do it. Who knows, right?
Well, thank you so much,
My pleasure.
Ross. It's been an honor to sit and listen
I appreciate it, Charlotte.
to you. Thank you.
Pleasure.